Hello, it's Judith here, and today I'm going to talk about phobias. So what is a phobia? A phobia is defined as an irrational fear of something that is unlikely to hurt you. Now, generally, we distinguish between fears and phobias. A phobia is worse than a fear because it is generally much, much stronger. So, I don't particularly like spiders, and many people are a bit fearful of them, but not to the point that it is having a significant effect on their lives. So if you have a fear of something and you can avoid it or manage your way around it and it's not affecting you in any serious way at all, then that's fine. If it becomes a phobia, then you really do need to deal with it. So for instance, with the spider example, I've worked with a client who every morning when she got up had to check every corner of every room in our house. And then she'd go off to work and she'd come back from work and she'd have to repeat the process. And then before she went to bed, she would have to do it again. And if she woke up in the night and couldn't get back to sleep, she would have to do it again. So that is now becoming, it's having an impact on her life. It's taking up time. And generally, when you get to that point, things only get worse. So how do we deal with the phobias? I had a fear of flying, which isn't called a phobia, but is treated in exactly the same way as a phobia. And like, I was saying you can be a bit fearful of a spider, but it's okay. I mean, a fear of flying can be extreme. So I was absolutely fine, had flown all my life, and then suddenly took my 2 young children on holiday and had a panic attack. Literally out of the blue. I was busy chatting to them about what was going to happen as we were taxiing to the takeoff runway. And as soon as it started to take off, I had a panic attack. Never had a panic attack before or since, except in an aeroplane. So I didn't fly for many years. And how I fortuitously cured myself, because it was accidental, was really by using the same desensitization technique that I use with my clients, only in my case, it was behavioral. So I was on a project for a couple of years that involved traveling to various places in Europe on a frequent basis. We were running a series of training courses in a number of European countries. So I flew very frequently. I had to do my job. And sometimes at its worst, I would fly out on a Sunday, back on a Friday, and then go off again on the Sunday. So you can't maintain that level of panic if you're doing it on a regular basis. And quite honestly, by the end of 2 years, for me, it was like getting on a bus. It's a fairly long process, and parts of it are quite painful because you're making yourself do something that you really don't want to do. And by this time I hadn't flown for over 10 years. So the way we do it in hypnosis is much gentler, much nicer, and much quicker. But it's effectively the same desensitization approach. So we imagine being in the feared situation over and over again in hypnosis. So we're using our imagination to imagine ourselves in any of the situations to do with flying. So typically it's, it may be when you book the holiday for many people, or it's as the time gets closer, or the night before or the morning of at the airport. The two main feared situations are takeoff, turbulence, and landing. And for many people like me, landing was fearful, but at least it meant I'd be back down on the ground again. So it was not as bad as the other two. So we list the activities involving flying that people are afraid of. We score them on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is, what's the problem? I actually enjoy it. And 10 is about as bad as you can manage. I do get 15 or 10 plus sometimes. And then we work through each situation from the most comfortable to the least comfortable, so in ranking order. And I simply ask people, having got them nice and relaxed and comfortable, to imagine being in that situation. And we do it over and over again, and gradually their score comes down until we get to 0, and then we do it a couple of times more for overlearning. So typically I can help somebody with a phobia in 4 weeks, maybe, or 4 sessions, sorry, that's assuming 1 session a week, in 4 sessions. It might take 1 or 2 more in particularly bad instances, but generally it's on average it's about 4. And, you know, they've done it quite comfortably. The remaining problem is it was fine imagining it in their head, lying on my nice chaise longue with me talking to them. It's very different when it gets to be real. And for some things, you can test them as you go. So if the situations are ones that you can, when you've practiced in hypnosis, got it down to 0 a few times, you can then, when you're ready, go out and try it out. But for some things, again, like flying, you can't just drive to the airport as if you were going on a flight and it'd be the same, or indeed just go off and take lots of flights as I did. So I offer my clients a variety of techniques to help them manage the doubt and the fear that it hasn't worked, which will, if they let it develop, actually, you know, bring the fear back to some level. So it'll be counterproductive to all the work we've done together. So they have techniques and there is a choice, and, you know, they pick 1 or 2 that work for them and they use them to deal with any doubts and possible fears about it not working. And if they do feel a bit uncomfortable, they can use it as well. So when I was working with people with needle phobia, as I did quite a lot in the not too distant past, I would recommend that morning of their COVID injection, they would do self-hypnosis, which I teach all my clients. And then when they get to where they're going, particularly if they're in their car, they just sit in the car and do another NLP technique that I've taught them to get rid of any concerns, doubts, fears. And then when they're actually having the injection, to use a breathing technique, which I will also have taught them. So they've got 3 things to get them there. And you can do exactly the same with other fears. So with flying, you could do it before you left home, and the middle one you could do while you're at the airport. And breathing is my go-to technique. It turns off the fight response by telling your brain there's actually no threat. And it's something you can do anywhere without anybody even noticing. Okay then, well, I hope that's helped. If you are someone who has a phobia and didn't know that it could be cured, or didn't know how it could be cured, or if you know anybody like that, then please get them to get in touch with me, because it is relatively straightforward and has a 99% success rate. And even the 1%, things are improved. I have had the odd client for whom there was still some element of fear, but it was manageable, as opposed to, you know, me on this aeroplane completely, you know, I shocked myself and everybody else having a panic attack. And logic doesn't work. I was taken in those days, doesn't happen nowadays, I was taken up to the flight deck on my 2nd attempt at going away in an aeroplane. And they explained it all to me. And I knew somebody who knew a lot about airplanes, and he explained it all to me, and it didn't help, because of course it's an irrational fear, and you cannot deal with an irrational fear by using a rational argument. Okay, I hope that's helped, and you know where I am if I can help with that or any other anxieties. And until next week, take care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you then. Bye.